Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's doing well. I have been inspired to do a little autumnal scene, and you saw me use this stamp set painted pheasant on Monday, where I took this beautiful ringneck pheasant and turned it into a bantam chicken. Well, today I'm going to keep it as a pheasant. And in addition to this stamp set, I'm also using the detailed rectangle dies. And I've gone ahead and I've gotten some papers ready. So I've got my very vanilla medium envelope. I have a card base that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've got some scraps of paper here. I've got a mat that I cut using the deckled rectangles dies, so it's got that very pretty deckled edge, which I think you can see that there. And then I've also got a little piece of the distressed gold paper, and this is very pretty. And what I did here was I just cut a frame, also using the deckled rectangle dies, because I didn't want to just cover up all this area under the next layer. I just wanted a little edge around the edges. So I'm just checking my settings. I want to be sure that you can see me. Here we go. And I see Carol. Hello, Carol. How are you today? In addition to these papers, I also have a couple of scraps. This is shimmery white paper. And I have a piece of watercolor paper that I've painted a light wash on. So, and this I cut out also with those deckled dies. So you can see I selected this little piece in the middle here, and I can put these aside and use these for something else. Maybe I'll even use them on the inside of this card. I don't know yet. So it's going to come together something like this. But first I want to begin with stamping. And for that I'm using the Sahara Sand ink, and I've got my scrap of paper here. Let me just see if this would fit on this little one. Not quite, no, too tight. All right, so I've got this bigger one. I've got my image already mounted. And we will include the tail this time. And this is the Sahara Sand ink. And I'm going to cut this out, so I just want to get that sort of centered there. Good morning, Kelly and Della and Sandra. Good morning, everybody. So there is my sweet little pheasant. Pheasants are not indigenous to America. They come from Eurasia, and they're used primarily as game birds. And we see them in the fields here in New England, particularly in the cornfields. They like to go pecking around to see if there's some grain left on the stumps of the stalks. Oh, I also have my watercolors here. So I've got yellow, red, and blue. And I'm going to begin by just taking a little bit of red and putting that around the pheasant's eye. There we go. And Now the male pheasants, and this is a male, have this beautiful white ring around their neck, and then the area of their neck all through here is very iridescent. So it's got some greens and some blues. So I'm just going to put some bright color there. Just a couple of strokes. There we go. A little bluer. And that can come up a little bit over here. And then the chest on the bird also has a little bit of an iridescent sheen. They actually, from the front, they look quite a bit like the peacocks, though I don't think that they're related. They may be related to peacocks, but distantly. The ringneck pheasants can be up to 3 feet long when you include their tails. But the peacocks are actually the longest flying bird, not the widest, but the longest. And the peacock's trains can be, and this is just the tail feather alone, can be 5 or 6 feet long. And when you add that to the length of the body, you're talking about an 8-foot bird. So they are powerful flyers. A lot of times when you see the peacocks at an estate, their wings have been clipped, and that's why they're walking around. But both the peacocks, the pheasants, all these birds prefer to be on the ground so long as it's safe for them to do that. They like to forage around and find seeds and grains and bugs and stuff like that. So here's my pheasant looking pretty snappy. Let's get a little color on his tail feathers. There we go. And I'm going to add just a little bit of shading here and there. So I'm mixing my red, blue, and yellow together to get a kind of a nice dark neutral color. One day when I was driving somewhere, I passed a ringneck pheasant. I think it was a female. It's been a long time, I'm not sure. But she had been hit by a car or a truck on the road. And she was just on the side of the road, and as the cars drove by, her wing would flap. So you really knew she was there, but she had been killed. And I turned around and I drove back, because oftentimes if I find a dead bird that's in pretty good shape, I'll use it to paint a nature study from. So I went back to see what kind of condition she was in, and she was actually in perfect condition. But it was so sad, because when I turned around and came back, her mate was there looking at her, and it was just kind of heartbreaking. People drive so darn fast on the roads that they're not always able to stop in time when an animal comes out. I always try to keep an eye on the side of the road so I know if there's an animal there. Anyway, so I took the pheasant and I put it in the back of my truck, and I brought it to a taxidermist in a nearby town. And unfortunately, what I didn't know was that you can only have your game birds mounted during certain times of the year, and it wasn't hunting season then, or maybe it was just about to be, and that's why the birds were a little nervous. I don't know, but in any event, I couldn't have it mounted because it was so beautiful. These birds are extraordinary, and they act a lot like chickens. And I imagine that raising them is not much different than raising chickens. All right, so there's my little pheasant, and I'll give you a close-up of that. This is a pretty good-sized stamp. So there it is. Get that straight on the screen there for you. So there's the pheasant, and that only took about 5 minutes or so. Very easy to do. Anybody could do it. If you're interested in learning more about watercolor painting, check out my watercolor card club, and you can do that at dandelioncottagedesign.com, and I will also post that link below at the end of the video today. So if you're interested in joining, you can. This month, the September-October session is particularly great for beginners because I'm going over shading and how to get started. So if you're someone who's been wanting to paint for a long time or increase your skill set, you may want to tune in for the Watercolor Card Club. And it's a wonderful group. We have a live class at the end of each month that everybody's invited to join. And you get a card kit in the mail from me that includes practice paper with a homework assignment, and there's also a video tutorial. So if you're interested, please check out the Watercolor Card Club, and again, I will post that link under the video today in the description in a little while. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this aside and let this dry, and then while this is drying, I'm going to go ahead and prepare my card base. Now once this dries, I'll probably add a couple of strokes to it to get the texture of those feathers back in, but it's too wet right now. All right, so for my card base, I'm going to begin with my Cajun Craze mat, and I'm using the multi-purpose liquid glue, and I'm just going to put a thin bead around the edge, just like that, and then I'm going to get that centered on my card base. Now I have an assistant here today who's going to help me assemble this card. This is the Princess Sophia Maria, and she is 9 weeks old, so she's a very curious kitten. And she wants to know everything that I'm doing. So she's always watching. So here she is settling in so that she can get a good look at the proper way to apply glue. I'm running out of glue. I may need to open another bottle. If you've been on the fence about getting the deckled rectangle dies, they're wonderful. You'll want to have them. They're just so pretty. Okay, so there is that. And then I'm going to mount this on top of it. I'm going to move the princess. Say hello. There she is. She's so darn cute. Before I stick this down, I want to do a little bit of stamping on here. So, let's see. I have, I'm going to try the Sahara sand. And I have this, this stamp with the grass and the seed head here. And I'm just going to put a very light, you can't see what I'm doing, let me bring you in a little bit. I'm just going to put a very light couple of stamps, and I'm going to need my stamp pad for this because I'm going to go off. So I'm just going to get a little bit of texture on here. Like so. And I'll vary the height of the grasses. There we go. All right, so just a little bit of background. And now I'm going to do a little bit of fussy cutting. If somebody's not careful, she's going to get her whiskers snipped. Now, if you're somebody who's been watching my live videos each week and you've been commenting, you probably have heard something about the Dandelion Paper Pal. Now, if you're somebody who's been watching, she just sat. The princess is sitting on top of my keyboard, so I'm going to put her down. So say goodbye, princess. Your time here today is finished. If you're somebody who's been watching a while and would like to participate and share your projects with us, we have a group called the Paper Pal, the Dandelion Paper Pal. Sorry, I can't cut and talk at the same time. And you're welcome to join. And in that group, you do have the ability to post your projects and any ideas that you have I encourage you, when I do something on my Facebook Live, that you change it up a little bit and that you add your own ideas and share them with everybody else. So that is how the group got started. And we've got a few people in there, and we're about to announce a tag swap. And there will be certain guidelines to follow, and those are they'll be posted by the end of this week. And in order to participate in the tag swap, all you've got to do is write in the comments under the announcement that you want to participate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to match up people, and so that you can exchange the addresses, and you can send a tag up to 3 different people. We're gonna start it at 3 to see how it goes. And the rules are that only Stampin' Up! Stamps and dies are used. It's okay if they are retired product, that's fine. And if you want to add other kinds of papers, fabrics, ribbons, and that sort of thing, you're welcome to do that. And the tag has to fit in an envelope for mailing purposes. So there'll be a lot more on that later. And I will, after the video today, I will also post the information about the Dandelion Paper Pals. But you can also find it. You can just search for it in Facebook and it should come up. All right, so I think my pheasant's looking pretty good here. I'm going to go around the edges and knock that white area back. And just get into this little place here. There we go. Take a little bit extra off of this side. All right, there's my pheasant. Let me clear away this mess. And I'm going to use my Sahara sand, and I'm just going to sponge around the edges. Let's see, I think that's Sahara sand. Maybe it's this one. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, and while I'm at it, I'm going to add a little more color to this area just to help that blend in a little bit better. There we go. Now that my pheasant is dry, I can take some a little more paint and just I want to increase the texture on these wing feathers here. So I'm just going to put a few strokes and some dots. Okay, calling him done. And I just want to give my pheasant a little bit of a curve so it looks a little more three-dimensional. I'm going to mount my background. Okay, and then I have some dimensionals here. I'm going to use those on the back of my pheasant. Get him situated on there. And then I want to add a sentiment. So I've got my grateful already mounted on my stamp block. And I think what I'll do is I'll use this scrap, and I'm going to use the Cajun Craze for this sentiment. So there it is. And I'm just going to tear this out. There we go. That point off of there. I'm going to go back to my Cajun Craze ink and sponge those edges. And last but not least, I'm going to put a couple of notches in here. So I'm going to take some of my linen thread, just a little bit, wrap that around a few times. Just want to add a little more texture to the card. I like cards with some dimension and texture. And I'm going to put this up on a couple of dimensionals as well. There we go. So there's the card. Now I don't want to forget about the envelope. I've got my envelope here. And I'm just going to take that pretty grass design and put that on the flap. Just like so. Actually, I think I'll add a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean off my stamp. Like so. And then I'm just going to put the tip of the, I'm off camera, sorry. I'm just going to put the tip of the stamp on my stamp pad and just add a little more grain to my design. Here we go. Okay, so there is my beautiful autumnal card using the Painted Pheasant stamp set. It's very pretty. I'm sure that you all will think of many other ways of using it. I'd love to see what you do. Again, if you want to make a variation on this card and share it with the Dandelion Paper Pals, we'd love to see what you do. If you are a regular subscriber and you've been following my videos on Facebook and YouTube, please like and subscribe and join us in the Dandelion Paper Pal group. We'd love to see you there. Thank you so much. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.